Alright, so this is what we got. We got a 5-speed tranny. Now this tranny is out of a soft tail, but the job, whether it be a rubber mounted bike or the soft tail, is essentially the same thing. This whole portion of it is identical. But now I'm going to tell you, there's a couple things. Number one, now we went ahead and removed the dry sprocket, and there's no other ways about it, but you're going to have an 1 7/8" deep well socket. Now, I made that myself. You're either going to have to make one or buy one. That's just part of life. And also, now one of the things you're going to run into, and you're going to have a special tool for this too. It's not expensive. You can pick them up on eBay all day long. 30, 50 bucks, something like that. But the inner primary bearing race, it's going to have to come off. And now, sometimes it's pretty common that because of the deflection in the main shaft, this race can walk either out or in. This particular one walked in. So for me to be able to get this tool on here, well, I can't, because there's nothing to grab. There's supposed to be a 100 thousandths gap between the main shaft or the main drive gear and the bearing. But I'm gonna show y'all a trick. So let's get to it. All right, now y'all saw me push out 5th gear. There's a reason for that. This is going to be the way that you're going to be able to get on that race if it's walked in. And I know not everybody has a big press to be able to do it like you just saw me do it. And so I'm going to show y'all a trick where you use a piece of 1.5" PVC pipe and a bottle jack or something similar. So let's get to that and I'll show y'all how to do it. Now I know this is kind of shade tree, but if you, like I say, if you don't have access to a press, I've done this a bunch of times for different stuff back before I had all my tools. But you're going to get your bottle jack and your PVC, and you're going to put your nut back on 5th gear, and you'll push off the frame of your truck just like this. As y'all can see, I've got it chalked up with a couple blocks of wood that are on the outer edges so that the trap door isn't pushing against it. We don't want to break it. And this is the way I had it underneath the truck. I didn't show y'all right then. I figured y'all ain't gonna just watch that little piece and run out and start trying to push it out. I figured y'all finish the video. But anyhow, if you got all your bolts out on the trap door, then when you push down on 5th gear, it'll push against the other gears that are in there and it'll pop that seal for you. Sometimes these seals have been in there so long, they're pretty tough. Anyway, and you see that 5th gear is down, and so I've got slack up here to get the tool on. You know, I've got enough play. And so there's 2 ways you can do this. You can slide out the gear set, set it on your bench and pull it off, or you can flip this over and pull it off. I'm just going to flip it over because it sits right here and give me a little bit more room to play, and let's pull the race off. Now, one other thing I want to mention is, I know y'all see me with the transmission out of the bike, but that same trick will work. You just doing it kind of horizontal, you know. And of course, this is the only thing that this is for is if that inner race is walked to the inside, so you can get enough gap, because you can't pull the gear set out unless you get this race off. If it's in the bike and everything's fine and you pull the race off, the gear set comes out no problem. This is just to get you the gap you need to get it off. But what you would do, I'm just giving you an example. You could use anything as far as you put your PVC on there, you pull the bike next to something. More than likely, you're probably going to have it on at least a little lift, you know, some little hydraulic jack or something like that. And you pull the bike beside, say, the tire, the wheel, or, you know, if you're in a shop, you know, you might have a stud in a wall, and you got to get creative sometimes, especially if you don't have all the tools that a full-blown shop would have to make things easier. And so you would just simply do the same thing. Like, for instance, if I was going to use the wheel of the truck, I'd put it along the side of it, or I'd put the PVC on there, just like we did, and then I'd put the bottle jack right here. Now I'd have to use something like some wedges or whatever to keep the lift itself from rolling, shock that underneath the caster wheels, or even run some ratchet straps over to the frame of the truck. Anything, you just, you know, imagination goes a long way. And you just sit there and do the same thing. You push it out. You got to get creative. But this is all you really have to do. So now we're going to go ahead and we're going to put the tool on and take this bad boy off and finish the job. Now while you got it apart, you need to go ahead, you clean all your bearings that are good, you'll clean all your gears, but one of the key things that you want to inspect, besides the pressure angle on the gear teeth, which we'll go into that in a little bit, but you want to check out the shift dogs. Now these are the pieces of the transmission that actually, when you push down on the lever, the shift fork moves it into place. It actually sucks the gear into place because they're background. And the key thing that you're going to want to be looking for is right here on the edges of them. You'll see where they start to round off. Now the dogs are ground at an angle, and the reason they're ground like that is so that when you've got your two, this is your dogs over here, and this is your sliding gear, and when you have it get to that point, it actually physically pulls the gear in because it's background, and so it helps pull it in. And the issue that you run into is that if the dogs are really rounded, and one of the key things that causes that is stomping on the shifter, but if they're really rounded, it's going to make for hard shifts. They're going to make it's going to be loud, clunky shifts. And if you want smooth shifts, you want to make sure that the dogs are in good shape. Now, one thing I want to touch on is to prevent the dogs getting wore out, early. What you want to do when you're shifting is just simply put the weight of your foot on the shifter, or just a little pressure on the shifter, depending if it's up or down, and then pull the clutch in and let it suck itself in. You do that, and those dogs will last a long time. But let's go ahead. I'm going to clean these up, and we'll keep putting this thing together. All right, now another thing you want to inspect is on your main drive gear. You know, you got your needle bearings inside of it, and you want to check for roughness, just like all the other bearings. Decide if you want to replace them. Now, if there's nothing wrong with them, you don't see no rusting or pitting or anything, they're not rough, they'll go a long time. But now, if you feel more comfortable with going ahead while you're in there and replacing them, go ahead. Now, they make a special tool to do all this, but if you're not doing this on a regular basis, there's no reason to buy that tool. Just like earlier in the video, I've showed you other ways to accomplish the same thing. I'm going to do it right now. So what you're going to want to do, you've got to take the old bearings out, and you just simply drift them out. Now you can use a oak dowel pin. I use this on a lot of different bearings. Drive them out. You can use a piece of brass or a metal punch. The thing is, it doesn't matter because you don't care if you tear them up, because you're replacing them anyway. Now, the way you're going to end up putting these back in is, well, let me show you this first. All right, so before you take them out, if you don't have a dial caliper, you know, like I do, then you're not going to be able to set it to the 315 thousandths that it requires. What you can do is take a piece of metal or something of that nature and scribe a mark right here at the end of the lip. And that's going to tell you when you're pushing it in there what the depth is. Keep in mind, this doesn't have to be down to the thousandths. On the other side, they're supposed to be 80 thousandths below the surface right here. The easiest way is just to simply put it where the edge of the bevel is, or below, or right there at the edge. Look at it before you take it apart and just copy it. That's the best way I can say it. But anyhow, let me show you a little trick. So like I say, and you know, you can use a piece of 1/2 inch all thread. I'm just using this as an example because I had one here. But as you see, I'm using a 3/4 inch washer. That's you know, the one from the makeshift tool I made to pull in the bearings for the trap door. And let's just pretend that this bearing's out. Okay, we're reinstalling it. And so you're going to take your ground down 1/2 inch washer and put it over there, tighten the nut up as it, you know, it pulls it into place. Like I say, you're gonna, when you grind that down, it needs to be smaller. It needs to be the exact same diameter as the bearing outer race. You're gonna pull that down and put it to where it's supposed to be. And over here, you're gonna flip it over. You're gonna have your bigger washer right here, and you're gonna do the same thing. Obviously, you're gonna have a bolt or a piece of all thread that sticks out further. You're going to pull this down to that 315 thousandths that it's supposed to be set, and you're good to go. You're not sitting there spending a bunch of money on tools that you're only going to use one time. So let's go ahead and get this thing installed, and we'll finish putting this together. Now this bearing right here, the counter shaft needle bearing, if it's in bad shape, literally this is what it says in the service manual, but you can press it out like we've done other ones, but it actually says to get 1 1/4 dowel, wooden dowel or something like that, and you drive it out And then once you drive that out, you lightly drive it back in from the other side. There's really nothing to it. But anyway, let's go ahead and start putting in the gear set and we'll finish this up. All right, as y'all saw, there ain't shit ass thing to that. I mean, think about it. Harley Davidsons aren't nothing but a glorified lawnmower on two wheels. I mean, they're easy to work on. It doesn't take much. But one of the key elements, remember to really pay attention to your dogs on your gears. If you don't want hard shifts. And, you know, check out the gear teeth. I've rarely seen any be an issue, but, you know, check them out while you're in there. Check the bearings for fretting and spalling and rust, any kind of roughness. Hell, you might want to just replace them all for peace of mind. But now I've got me a nice, good looking rebuilt transmission for whenever the Heritage transmission shits the bed. And I'm going to end it here. Drink this cold ass Blue Moon. I'll see y'all next one.